Good evening. Welcome. I call to order our May 2nd, 2022 regular scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting. I've asked Mayor Pro Tem Larry Smith to lead us in our invocation, and I've asked local business owner John Adcock to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance here today. Please stand.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the opportunity to be here once again. Father, we thank you for our town. We thank you for every home, every family that's represented here, Lord. Father, I pray now tonight that as we gather to talk about issues that affect our town as a whole, that you'll give us wisdom, that we'll make the decisions that are in the best interest of our citizens, Lord. Father, we do pray for the trouble spots around the world, the folks who are under attack in foreign countries, Lord. We pray for them, pray for their safety. Lord, we still pray for folks who are being affected by the COVID pandemic. We pray for those folks, Lord, and we pray that we'll continue to see a way out through that. Father, I just pray now that everything that's said and done here tonight will be pleasing your sight. Lord, we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. John, come forward right here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yesterday, Wake County Preservation was here in Fuquay-Varina at the Arts Center, and we recognized different pieces of property, historical property located throughout the county. And one of those is an old gas station, local convenience store, and John Adcock's family and father and grandfather were a part of that. And he was recognized also as local in Fuquay-Varina and got to recognize him yesterday. So, John, thank you for being here tonight, and I know you have other items on the agenda, and thank you for what you do in our community. At this time, I ask that our Assistant Town Manager, which one of y'all tonight, Seymour, to review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this meeting. Assistant Manager.
Mayor, Board, good evening. Tonight's meeting is both in-person and virtual. Tonight's meeting contains a public comment period, 2 scheduled public hearings, and 2 public hearings continued from previous meetings. Due to the hybrid nature of the meeting, the public will be invited to comment both in person and virtually via the Zoom virtual meeting platform. When it is the appropriate time, Mayor Massengill will first call on those wishing to address the town board that are attending in person, followed by those wishing to address the town board via the Zoom platform. All attendees that have appeared in person to address the town board during the public comment period should provide your name and address on the registration sheet by the podium prior to the public comment period beginning. All attendees that have joined the meeting virtually have joined muted. If those joining virtually wish to address the town board during the public comment period, they will need to notify the town host that they wish to speak. For the public's benefit, and may be joining the meeting via the Zoom platform, please press the raise hand button in the Zoom app to notify the town host that you wish to address the board. Please press *9 to raise your hand if joining by telephone. After an individual has raised their hand, they will enter a queue. When the time for public comment or a public hearing begins, Mayor Massengill will ask the town host to recognize individuals that have notified the town host that they wish to speak by calling out their name or last 4 digits of their telephone number. Individuals will be unmuted one at a time and invited to address the town board. We ask that all those wishing to address the town board to begin their comments by clearly stating their name and address for the public record. The public is asked to keep all comments to 3 minutes so that all that wish to speak can be heard in a timely manner. This concludes the protocols for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. First item on our agenda will be the approval of the minutes from the April 19th, 2022 regular scheduled town board meeting. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor, hearing no corrections to the minutes, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 19th, 2022 Town Board of Commissioners regular scheduled meeting as presented and recommended.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item of business on our agenda is going to be presentations. And I'm going to shuffle. We're going to keep item 4A first We're gonna do 4C second, 4B is gonna be actually fourth, and the third one, I'm gonna recognize something in between there. So just a little shuffle back there for you, Scott, in a moment. First presentation is oath of office, police, canine, shadow. Please come forward.
Mayor, Commissioners, Town Managers, it's my pleasure to be standing before you this evening to reintroduce Canine Dash and officially introduce our new canine, Canine Shadow. The Fuquay-Varina Police Department's canine program started back in 2017 under former Chief of Police Laura Fonstock's leadership, which she is in attendance tonight because this was very important for her. The program consisted of one canine, but has recently expanded to two. In January 2022, a second canine was purchased with a grant from the Cary Kennel Club and the AKC Reunite Adopt a Canine Cop program. This grant provided the funding to purchase Canine Shadow, as well as equipment associated with him. So before I go and make some additional comments and call on the canines, I would like to recognize the Cary Kennel Club and members from the AKC Reunite Adopt a Cop program who are here tonight to support the presentation of Canine Shadow to the board. So if I can have them stand, please. So they approached us with a grant opportunity, very supportive, and wanted to see our canine program expand. They provided the funding. They've been exceptional to work with, and if we could just give them a round of applause for the support.
Thank you for supporting our police department, and thank you for your help right there, what you've done to assist that. We appreciate you very much.
Having a canine program elevates the level of customer service we provide to the citizens of Fuquay-Varina. These canines have the ability to track. It could be adults, juveniles, missing persons, runaways, fleeing suspects. Also search for articles that could be evidence of a crime or lost property. Drug detection in vehicles, buildings, open areas, and also apprehension of violent criminals. So it's a variety of different things that these canines can provide. You just want to stand right here. So Master Officer Jessless and Canine Dash became a team in August 26, 2021. Together they completed canine school at Ventosa Kennel Incorporated and graduated on October 29, 2021. Dash has been with us since 2017 and was the first canine in the history of the Fuquay-Varina Police Department. Dash is a German Shepherd from Holland, is 5 years old, and speaks Dutch. Officer Jessless and Canine Dash have far exceeded our expectations. Canine Dash has been deployed several times in a variety of capacities to include tracking, perimeter security, article searches, and drug detection. Since October 29, 2021, they have located and seized over 159 grams of drugs and several items of drug paraphernalia. Thank you. You want to send in Master Officer Parker? Here he comes around here. The star of the show. Master Police Officer Parker and Canine Shadow became a team on January 31st, 2022. Together they completed canine school at Ventosa Kennel Incorporated and graduated on March 11th, 2022. Shadow is a Belgian Malinois and German Shepherd mix from Hungary. He is 18 months old and he also speaks Dutch. Officer Parker and Canine Shadow have far exceeded our expectations as well. Canine Shadow has been deployed several times in a variety of capacities to include drug detection and tracking. Since March 11, 2022, they have located and seized over 232 grams of drugs and several items of drug paraphernalia, which is important to mention because we're getting those drugs off the street, so they're not getting in the hands of our children. I would like to point out that Chief Fonstock is credited for naming Canine Shadow, which came from one of the most popular radio shows in history, The Shadow, that ran from 1930 to 1954. The opening lines in this detective story began with, "Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows." Chief Fonstock's father used to listen to this radio show, and when she saw Canine Shadow for the first time, seeing his colors and shades of fur, she decided that Shadow would be most fitting name. All right, as we made customary starting with Canine Dash, we ask that Mayor Massengill read the canine oath of office to Canine Shadow and make it official. You can just stay right there.
This is one of the most exciting things I get to do is swear in our police officers. And this is my first canine I've gotten to swear in, swearing in our police officers. And this is an honor that the police department allows me to do because they do not have to allow the mayor to swear them in. And so I appreciate that very much, and I take great pride in getting to do this, and same for our four-legged friends also. Shadow, you do not have to repeat after me today. I, Canine Shadow, do solemnly swear that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the United States, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina, that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of the state of North Carolina, that I will be alert and vigilant to enforce the criminal laws of North Carolina and ordinances of the town of Fuquay-Varina, and I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of a Fuquay-Varina police canine upon which I am now about to enter. I will faithfully discharge my duties and responsibilities as a police canine of the Fuquay-Varina Police Department according to the best of my skills and abilities during my tenure as a faithful employee and police canine of the town of Fuquay-Varina. So help me God. Shadow, you are official. And I do mean it when I say how fortunate I feel to get to swear in our police officers and our canines right here. It's an exciting part of my job. And now that we have two canines here in Fuquay-Varina, that is great. And Officer Parker, I know you'll do a great job with Shadow also, and keep things off the street. And Shadow's, I'm not sure what you call Dash big brother necessarily, but Shadow's partner in fighting crime too. So thank you. Good luck. You do a great job. We're proud of you here in Fuquay-Varina.
That's a good one.
Bear with us, we can see
That's a
if
good one.
some occasions that we have two here at Fuquay-Varina, so we can see if they'll cooperate for a picture and together. Do the first picture together. In history of Fuquay-Varina, it's true.
I'm getting a political call. Sorry.
You want us back here?
Can they be?
I don't want to
Can they be
upset
together? I
them.
don't think they like each other.
Yeah, because we might upset them too.
Dash is so big.
this shot right here.
Yep, I got it.
They want to play.
Blake is coming.
Yeah. Let's get it going. There we go. Okay. See if I-
All right, on 3. 1, 2. Uh-oh.
He's more interested in us.
There you go, right there. 1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
Did you get it? Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you, officers. As we all know, they are trained for police duty and not for photo ops inside here and have much more serious things that they need to be doing. And so, thank you. We're going to step ahead to item 4C on our agenda. Item 4C is a proclamation for National Public Service Week, the week of May 1st through 7th, 2022, starting yesterday here in Fuquay-Varina. And this is a mayoral proclamation I'm issuing, I'm going to read tonight. Whereas our residents are served every single day by public servants at the federal, state, local levels, and whereas nearly 400 hardworking, talented people are employed by the town of Fuquay-Varina, and with over 2,400 combined years of government service. And whereas, in often difficult circumstances, our civil servants work to protect and improve the quality of life for our residents, businesses, and visitors. And whereas Public Service Recognition Week has been celebrated the first week of May since 1985 to honor the men and women who serve our nation as federal, state, county, and local government employees. Now therefore, I, Blake Massengill, Mayor of the town of Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina, do hereby announce and proclaim May 1st through 7th, 2022 as Public Service Recognition Week, and encourage all citizens to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of government employees at all levels, federal, state, and local. And witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the town of Fuquay-Varina to be affixed this second day of May 2022. This is important to recognize our National Public Service Week, which is recognized throughout our country, and the hard work that our employees do here in Fuquay-Varina. And customer service is what our employees work hard to strive in our town. They do a great job, and I appreciate you employees for what you provide in our town and the quality of life and help providing a great experience for our citizens here in Fuquay-Varina. So thank y'all for what you do. Wendy, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes, sir. Thank you for doing that. We will be doing some things to honor our employees this month, not just this week. We will be having a picnic for them for lunch one day. We're also going to try to get them some ice cream and maybe a couple other little things. So we just want to recognize all of our employees for the hard work that they do and just try to show them, you know, in simple ways, but just this month that we really appreciate all the things that they do for us on a day-to-day basis. So, thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Our next presentation on our agenda is not on our agenda, but I want to mention is the 2022 Citizens Engagement Award by the North Carolina League of Municipalities Local Leadership Foundation. And so town of Fuquay-Varina was awarded runner-up last week for this award, and Brian and Tracy were on hand. Commissioner Haynes and Commissioner Watson were on hand to receive this award for the town of Fuquay-Varina. Would y'all like to present it and hold it up for everybody and make a couple comments?
This was the award that we were presented for the town of Fuquay-Varina, and it's for the 2021 State of the Town Address. So it was recognized all over the state of North Carolina. So people were actually asking us while we were sitting at the table, is there any way we can go back and look at it? Because they want to see this video from last year, because they talked so highly about it. So we were very excited, and we were actually shocked whenever they was like Fuquay-Varina. We were like, oh, let's go up there. So we actually received this award on behalf of the town.
And this was at the North Carolina League of Municipalities annual meeting, correct?
That's correct. Last week in
Last week.
Wilmington. That's right. Well, thank y'all for being able to receive that for us. Susan, you can find a good spot to hang it up, and you've done a great effort to help lead the efforts with our communications and marketing. So thank you for what you do in that area right there. And you were also away at a different conference last week, but appreciate what you're doing there. Okay, next item that is on our agenda that we're going to do now is presentation item 4B, fiscal year 23 operating budget and 5-year operating and capital plan presentation. More information about this item will be presented by our assistant managers, Matthew Seymour, and our budget analyst, Lum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. I will be presenting the Town Manager's recommended budget on behalf of Town Manager Mitchell, who's unfortunately under the weather tonight. You already received a budget work session presentation of the preliminary draft recommended budget. Since that time, we have compiled a bit of the public survey information that we conducted in January and February on public input. That has been pushed to your agenda packets, as well as the presentation for the budget and 5-year plan that I'm walking through. So if you've not synced your iLegislate this afternoon, you may want to do so to follow along. So I'll be moving through this a bit quicker tonight. Since you've seen it once, I will first submit the agenda abstract and supporting documentation into the official record. This, as a reminder for the board, is ultimately built on the strategic plan, like everything else we do in this organization. We have a vision statement. Fuquay-Varina is a dynamic, inclusive, and caring community that provides exceptional service while offering economic opportunities, sense of place, and an unmatched quality of life. We have a mission statement. The town of Fuquay-Varina will improve quality of life by developing and maintaining robust infrastructure, committing to environmental and fiscal sustainability, fostering economic and cultural opportunities, providing safety and security, and delivering exceptional municipal services, all while continuing to be a dash more. That remains our mission, as was adopted just over a year ago. The town's 6 core values are shown on the screen. As a part of the public input in developing this budget, we conducted a survey using the Let's Talk FV platform and actually asked our residents to rank their top core values and provide some structured input. In your supporting documentation, you will see some of those themes that emerged, attributes that residents ascribe to the core values, and some concerns that they had in those areas, which we've attempted to address in the budget. I do want to I was pleasantly surprised by the percentage of residents that were at least somewhat familiar with the strategic plan. So it means we've been talking about this a lot, and our residents are becoming familiar with it. There were 99 that took it, and their top core values in order of importance from the residents were quality of life, safety and security, effective government and governance, preserving character and identity, economic vitality, and fiscal strength, in that order as ranked by our residents. As a reminder, the budget development began really with budget directors getting instructions, department heads working on their budget in January, and you can see from the pre-budget public input, all the internal meetings, the work session, ultimately coming to the manager's recommended budget today. The process is not over. In fact, the formal public process and opportunity for our residents to weigh in begins today, and they'll have until June 6th which is the recommended date for the public hearing. I will be asking the board to make a motion to schedule that public hearing at the end of my presentation. And ultimately, you have until June 30th to adopt the budget by statute. So the general fund revenues, these have been refined since the last presentation. We received a final ad valorem DMV property tax estimate from the revenue director. We've aligned our debt service with the recommendations of our financial advisors, and have in fact identified that the transfer that was initially shown going to the Gold Leaf Crossing project, the new 5-year plan doesn't require that to happen. We're in a better financial position, and so the total general fund and capital fund revenues, $79,859,268. You will see in the budget ordinance that includes appropriations directly to the general fund as well as to our capital reserve fund, or capital projects fund. This shows the appropriations by department. I will move through them fairly quickly since we went over this in April. And then you will see ultimately we began this process with a $4.1 million gap. We're able to identify some additional revenues and opportunities for expenditure cuts, and appreciate the work of Katie Lum, our budget and fiscal strategy manager, and our department heads to identify really needs versus wants. Everyone had to compromise to get to a balanced budget. The general fund fee change recommendations, we have a new fee for an inspector, ad change contractor, permit fee. There are just some minor adjustments to increase sign fees based on increasing material costs. Sanitation fees, this is material adjustment to bring our sanitation fee up to what's necessary to cover the cost of sanitation, recycling, and yard debris services, from $14.25 to $20 per month. You will see a number of other fee adjustments that are intended to cover costs in our Parks and Recreation rental area, as well as with some of our youth sports programs. Additionally, there are really some streamlined fees in the Art Center, as well as our planning fees that aren't intended to be revenue generators, just streamlining our fee schedule. So some of the budget highlights. This budget implements in full the pay and classification study. Those recommendations will come before the town board at your next meeting. And so the budget adoption does not implement that. This board as a whole will need to approve it for it to be implemented, but funding is included in the budget to fully implement those recommendations. There is a 4% COLA. There's a 3% performance merit increase that employees may earn up to 3% based on the performance evaluation. 37 new FTEs, which include 27 in the general fund, 10 in the enterprise fund. We did increase the budget amount for health insurance premiums from 15% to 21% since April 12th. We continue to work through in negotiations, expect to deliver it under that, but wanted to be sure that we were covered in the budget. And this budget also proposes a tax rate adjustment or a tax rate of 42.5 cents, which is the 3-cent increase required for debt service and operations of Fire Station 4, and that has appeared in the 5-year plan for several years now. Some budget assumptions. The property tax base effective January 1st of 2022 is $5.7 billion. That's provided by the Wake County Tax Administrator, which means 1 cent now generates $567,998. This assumes a 6% increase in sales and use tax from estimated fiscal year 2022 collections. This is a pretty conservative assumption given that we've experienced a 32% increase in our current fiscal year. That's not a trend that we want to bank on going forward. Some other budget assumptions. Building permits have increased an average of 50% annually over the last 3 years, although we recognize that's at a pretty high level, so we're budgeting more of a continuation of the current high trend rather than further growth, and reflects a PAL bill fund balance appropriation, although one that is less than was identified in the adopted 5-year plan. So if these tax rate adjustments are implemented consistent with the 5-year plan, this shows where Fuquay-Varina in fiscal year 2023 would stand compared to some of our neighbors' fiscal year 2022 tax rates, just over Holly Springs, around the middle of Wake County. But then if you look at the average single-family tax bill, we are still in the lower half of municipalities, just based on our home values. Some other growth trends. This shows the continued high pace of building permits. I believe we received 183 in April, and so that pace continues. You can see building permit revenue is increased along with the building permit numbers, and just a few more slides to show trends there that I'll move through quickly. And so, going to show walking through the personnel recommendations. FTEs are needed in almost every department to address public safety priorities, to support our expanding infrastructure, that is streets, water, and sewer, and to address customer demand that has been put on core services. And in short, investments in new personnel are going to be necessary to maintain our level of service and maintain our assets that continue to come online. FTEs in the Public Utilities Department, which are 10 FTEs, will support the expansion and maintenance of the utility system, both on the water and wastewater maintenance side. You can see that there are personnel added in a number of different departments, but primarily, if you look at water and sewer and fire, with the opening of a fire station, you could expect those are the larger increases. There are a number of new items that were not in the previously approved 5-year plan. All are attributed to support infrastructure and service delivery in town and are needed to advance the core values of safety and security, effective government and governance, and fiscal strength from the strategic plan. And you will see that these new positions are really all about responding to the needs of maintaining our public works services and our public utilities, as well as our development services area. We typically show to the board a police personnel comparison. You can see that this budget shows where we stand before and after the addition of 4 police FTEs. So chipping away, working towards our goal of a 2 officer to population ratio. Fire personnel as well, certainly with the addition of 9 personnel and the opening of a fire station, we are getting ourselves to a population ratio which puts us on target. Capital equipment, you can see a number of new position vehicles that are identified, as well as IT equipment in a number of our departments. We also have replacement vehicles. Some other notable expenses include new and replacement vehicles in the police department, a replacement of our body camera system. It's hard to believe, but now the first generation body cameras are at their end of life, and now we're pursuing a replacement of that with one that will not have to be manually activated and provide some other benefits. We also have a number of capital equipment proposed in the Public Works Department, as well as a portion of those being funded by Powell Bill that are supporting street maintenance. Notably, the leaf vac truck is being replaced, and a garbage truck, new and replacement. One of those garbage trucks would actually not go into service until fiscal year 2024, but the lead time is so long that we're ordering it in this budget. And also some capital equipment in Parks and Rec and Art Center. You can see the capital and special projects list has not changed since April 12th, with the exception of one project. That is the Action Park Tennis Court replacement. That is on your agenda for tonight because we're recommending, since we have funding available in the reserve, that we advance that project so we can begin procuring a contractor and start that work. Notably, some of the larger projects: Wallace Adcock Boulevard, $9 million, Wooded Road and Johnson Pond Roundabout, as well as a downtown generational plan. We've got a number of other projects that are smaller in scale for town facilities, and certainly the biggest one in the room is the Community Center North construction. General obligation bond of $18.5 million, which was passed last fall. There's already $10 million in a capital account for construction from legislative appropriation, and this is going to help us get that project funded to its $28.5 million construction budget. Capital and special projects, you can see, include Community Center North, Street Department, which those are actually special projects, and then we've got a number in Powell bill, notably our annual resurfacing, $305,000 in pedestrian plan, sidewalk repairs, as well as investments in other departments, and you can see the projects listed here. There's a stormwater management utility fee study that is proposed in this budget, not implementation of any fee, but there is funding to study that, and that this is the information that we shared about some of the programs that are out there. Sister City International Program is an initiative that's included in this budget. There is funding to help identify a sister city to assist in our international economic development recruitment efforts. Debt service fund, you will see all of the current outstanding bond issues, and annual debt service is included in the budget for those, as well as the initial interest on Fire Station 4. So the debt service fund includes or debt service for fiscal year 2023 actually is $4,411,833, but a portion of that's paid for by recreation unit fees. There's also a portion paid by the enterprise fund for debt service on the public service center, and as we've done in past years, $295,000 each year goes in to a transportation reserve that the town board previously stated should be reserved for transportation investments. General capital reserve transfers. This shows transfers from recreation unit fees to the general capital project fund to support recreation unit fee recreation projects, and transfers from the sanitation vehicle reserve to fund the purchase of 2 sanitation trucks. Transportation bond strategy includes funding for debt service on issuance of all $20 million in bonds in the 5-year plan. But as we discussed on April 12th, we've got a number of projects in the pipeline, really 8 projects, and then their staff will be working through with the input of the town board from retreat, identifying those projects that will score well, that we can continue to advance over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. What I'm telling you here is the 5-year plan reflects being able to cover the debt service for all of those bonds. Any questions on general fund operating budget?
Just a couple comments I can make for you, Mark, before we move to your 5-year plan. I know we've had a lot of in-depth discussion at our budget workshop in this room, and so those in the public tonight, this is all up for, this is an official public presentation, and then comments and feedback from it, and that is not the first time the board seeing it, so I know it seems going through fast, but this is what's been seen. You mentioned bidding out, or excuse me, the increase in our health insurance premiums for our staff. You're working on bidding that and looking for a new vendor, or making the current vendor more honest, shall we say. I know you're
Correct. We continue to negotiate with for the best possible premium.
And I think a lot of these areas is no different than what all of us are seeing every day with the rising costs of things across the world, across the city with materials and labor. The tax increase that you're proposing on Fire Station Number 4, that's been shown for years, that'll be coming in the future when that fire station's built, so that's nothing new there. You mentioned our policemen and I should say firemen and policemen and women, firemen and women, ratios, how we're working to improve those, and I've encouraged and requested in the past to continue to add those, and you added more positions to that this year, and we're fortunate to be a growing community, which also at the same time is causing us to stay level at those ratios, so we need to continue to recruit and add positions for those in the future. I know your future 5-year plan shows some of that you're going to talk about. And same with Public Works. All three of these departments are areas that I know I've ridden with them when they do their jobs, and in Public Works, some of those trucks are going into neighborhoods for sanitation and debris collection, are neighborhoods that are only 20% built out and trucks are already nearly full. So you'll be adding, I'm glad to see that we're adding more trucks and replacement trucks, because we'll have to continue to add more personnel to Public Works also in all three of these departments. These are often three departments that every department is very important in the town, but these are three that are some of the most visible departments that our citizens interact with daily and routinely right there. Tennis courts on Action Park, that had been planned to come in the next budget, just as you mentioned right there, and some of the safety concerns that were brought up at the last meeting showed that that it was not safe to play on anymore, and in fact, actually, our risk officer shut down the tennis court and said we'll be able to move it into here, which is going to get it done even faster right there and get that tennis court resurfaced. And so I think that's huge, and it shows the public that we heard them, we listened to them, and we're trying to get that area fixed too at the same time, as we see later on the agenda tonight. So, all right, ready for the next part. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will say, because 3 of the 4 courts remain open, there was only 1 court that had a slipping hazard on it. That court is closed. The other 3 remain safe for play, remain open until we close them for demolition and replacement.
How long will that process take?
It is, well, procurement could take up to 60 days. It's hard to tell by the time you get a contractor mobilized. Jonathan has already started reaching out to qualified contractors that can come in and get started. We do not want to close them down and make them not available until we have a contractor ready to begin construction. And then construction, Jonathan? Another 60 days for construction.
Okay. Thank you.
We've got that recommendation tonight because we know even though it will take a process, that process is starting tonight rather than July 1st. I will also say for the board and public's benefit, if you have any questions that you don't think of tonight, we do have until June 6th when the public hearing will be held for the public to address any questions. Obviously, sooner would be better, particularly those items that require some more in-depth research. So in the enterprise fund, we have an enterprise fund showing operating revenues of $17,694,000 here of water and sewer sales primarily in the operating fund. You will see in the budget ordinance that we also have our capital funds that reflect use of some of those system development fee and other operating funds that use more for system investment. You can see that this budget reflects the first year of implementation of the Wildan rate study, which requires a 9.9% change in the water and sewer base and volumetric rates this year, beginning of multiple years of rate adjustments. The combined monthly bill for an in-town resident using 5,000 gallons will increase $7.97 per month. Tap fee increases are included to cover the increased cost of materials and equipment. This is just to make sure we're capturing our costs in those times, whether it's a developer installed or a town installed water tap. The budget assumes 1,400 new residential units, which is conservative based on our building permit trends for water and sewer sales and system development fees. And 50 new irrigation taps are included for water sales as well. Some other budget assumptions are average daily water demand increasing from 2.82 million gallons a day to 3.2 million gallons per day. Average daily wastewater treated at the North Hornet Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant will remain level at 1.55 million gallons a day as the result of reduced inflow and infiltration. Obviously, with more water use, we're generating more wastewater, but we're also having less inflow and infiltration with the reduced rainfall. So that's why wastewater treatment's being level. You also see funding included in addressing that issue. Johnson County is proposing a 6% rate increase on bulk water this year, but the additional water supply from the city of Raleigh will allow the town to purchase water at a lower bulk rate in the short term and offset other supplier increases because their water comes at a lower wholesale rate. Some enterprise fund fee adjustments are included. This also is consistent with the Wildan rate study, and you'll see the base and volumetric rates are adjusted 9.9% pretty much across the board based on meter size. And I already mentioned the impact on the customer. Enterprise expenditures, you can also see operations, new positions, capital equipment, transfers to capital projects, debt service, and some amount that's going into fund balance this year, knowing the significant expenses coming online. Some expenditure assumptions. This budget was developed with the main emphasis being preparing for the significant capital expenditures required in the 5-year plan to address long-term water and wastewater capacity needs. So you will see fewer of those small projects because we're saving up, if you will, to get ready for the large water capacity, water supply expansions, and wastewater expansions coming online. Additional staffing is required in response to and in preparation for system expansion. Hayes and Sawyer's external staffing analysis indicated the town currently lags peer systems and staffing dedicated for water and wastewater system maintenance activities based on a system size. And to that end, you will see the 10 new positions identified to be sure that we are keeping up with the preventative maintenance and ready to take on the new infrastructure that's been added by others and will be added as part of these town projects, as well as to reduce inflow and infiltration. The new personnel are specifically identified here: 2 AMI collections maintenance staff members, project manager, 2 wastewater apprentices, distribution and collections crew leaders, and system water and sewer integrity crew of 3. Some notable capital equipment. A number of these items were included in the 5-year plan, but we also reflect the vehicles that are required for those new personnel, as well as a valve clean truck being the largest of those new vehicles. Also includes an IBAC sewer camera. Maintenance projects, hydrant insertion valves, lead and copper rules, compliance, water modeling, some inflow and infiltration, rehabilitation, and a collection system master plan. This collection system master plan is a significant investment, but it's going to put the town in its best position to get ahead of those collection system concerns and to compete for millions of dollars of federal funding and grants. So that's why we're making that investment. Debt service fund, or that's why that investment is proposed. The debt service fund shows all of the current debt service that is within the enterprise fund. You can see the debt schedule before you. That is also included in your agenda materials. Includes all of the bonds that were previously reviewed, and we made some refinancings last November to be sure that we're taking advantage of the lowest possible borrowing costs. You can also see that we are planning for debt service coming online for the Sanford conveyance system, the Hornet County Water District purchase, Terrible Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant Expansion, North Hornet County Wastewater Treatment Plant Expansion, and the Sanford plant. While that particular, the mechanism of that interlocal agreement is being still finalized and formalized, we're planning for the cost of all of those. Those were taken into account by our financial and utility consultants as part of these studies. And it's reflected in our budget and 5-year plan. The Utility Capital Reserve Fund shows the water system development fees. You will see included is the result of implementing a recommended system development fee increase on the water side that is recommended by Wildan based on the system development fee study that meets the statutory requirements. We will be posting that this week on the town website for review, and requires a 45-day review period of the public. And so when you're asked to take action on the budget June 6th, you will be asked to take action on the budget and all of the fees except for that adjustment. You won't be able to take action on that adjustment until the second meeting in June, but the result of that funding is reflected in the budget. And here it is, the water system development fee increased to $3,030, and sewer system development fee remains unchanged as a result of the system development fee rate study. Projects in green are those projects funded by revenue bonds. Certainly you will see more projects funded by revenue bonds in years 2, 3, 4 of the 5-year plan. The Sanford Water Treatment Plant Expansion Project is approaching 30% completion. It's on the engineering and design, that is, and is on track to be completed in spring 2023. And you can see some of these other steps in the process, such as the interbasin certificate petition, expected to be submitted in August 2022. And then you can see soft costs assumed in this budget. Construction costs are estimated at $47.5 million, funded by revenue bonds as part of this plan. And Fuquay-Varina's actual construction costs could still vary based, of course, on construction costs, number of partners, and material costs and contractor availability at the time of bidding. Bottom line is the plant should be in service by fiscal year 2026. Hornet Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant Expansion shows where we are in that process. The expansion volume requested for that in spring 2021 was 3.4 million gallons a day, which would increase the capacity from 2.6 to a total of 6 MGD. And we continue to work through that process with Hornet County. Completion expected in fiscal year 2025, chipping away design construction as part of this budget plan as well as Terrible Creek. So a lot of preparation for these future projects that are coming in the Public Utility Fund. Any questions on that before the 5-year plan?
Your fee study that you mentioned earlier, and that comes from, that follows state statute and and engineering firms that lay that out and how all those fees must be calculated. Now, if I remember right, water and sewer.
That's correct. That was completed by Wildan, and they were hired by the town consistent with statutory guidelines. We knew that there would be these large expenditures coming online, and they were contracted to review both base and volumetric rates as well as system development fees. So 2 different studies, both inform this plan.
I know the partnership in the future that we're doing with our surrounding communities and surrounding counties for expanding our fresh water and our wastewater at the same time, the grants that we'll be able to achieve, and along with the federal government, that's going to help keep those costs even lower. So keep getting those and work hard on those. Okay. All right. Next up.
So the general fund 5-year plan, this again, you've already seen much of this on April 12th. It will all of this information will be posted on the town website tomorrow morning for anyone in the public that would like to review. You can see a picture of general fund revenue over the next 5 years. You can see the tax increase that was planned for Fire Station 4 coming online on fiscal 2023, a tax increase for Community Center North of 2.5 cents, which is less than what was advertised last fall. Still a ways to go in terms of bidding, but we believe we'll be able to over-deliver that project based on the numbers at this point. But that was part of the bond referendum passed last fall. And then the tax base generated by the commercial retail project at Gold Leaf Crossing, that's not a rate adjustment, it's just more tax base coming online. Some general fund revenue assumptions. Tax levy growth is conservatively projected at 7.5% normal growth prior to the current surge of development. A tax rate adjustment of 3 cents recommended in year 1 to offset debt service and operations for Fire Station 4. Already mentioned the community center is recommended in year 2, and even though the project will start in year 1, the debt service won't be due until year 2. The property tax rate adjustment of 3 cents that was previously identified for Fire Station 5 is no longer in the 5-year plan because now that's not projected to come online until fiscal 2028. A lot can happen between now and fiscal year 2028, tax base growth, et cetera. So I don't want to speculate of what adjustment might be needed to open that fire station, but it's no longer showing on the 5-year plan. Additional commercial and retail value is added in years 2 through 4. You can see conservative projection of 2% growth for other taxes and unrestricted intergovernmental, and 6% in sales and use taxes. Permits and fees are actually shown to decrease 2% annually. It's very challenging to project permits and fees, but we don't want to get too ambitious about our forecast of continued robust growth. Seeing that we're currently at a historically high level, we're more or less projecting that stay flat, and growth of 5% in years 2 through 5 for sales and services. The increase associated with the proposed rate increase for refuse or sanitation fees is included in the first year, and that was also identified last year in the 5-year plan that we were studying our sanitation fees, expected to make an adjustment this year. Loans were included in the same year the project costs were expected to be incurred, and transfers are reflected from the various reserves as projects eligible for reserve funding are included. Already went through the comparisons during the operating presentation. You can see an outlook of general fund expenditures. All of the departments' expenditure growth is reflected in here, as well as capital projects and new personnel. I'll go into detail, but you will see in year 1, we're actually appropriating money into fund balance because we have a surplus in year 1 of the plan. Year 2, 3, 4, 5, we have slight shortfalls, but this is with very conservative revenue assumptions. In any given year, we're typically adding more than $1 million into fund balance, and we are currently holding much more fund balance than is required or even recommended. So we're in a strong position, no concerns there. And it's likely that those shortfalls won't even materialize by the time tax-based growth comes in. New debt for Fire Station 4, Community Center North transportation projects, fire engines are included in the various years, and the purchase of land for Fire Station 5 is identified in fiscal year 2027. All of those projects I just mentioned. You can see a grand total of personnel, equipment, and projects coming online in each year of the 5-year plan. You can see in the first, in the back years, we're not forecasting quite as much need for personnel as in the first couple years. Obviously, the $31 million of projects in year one. That's the result of the Community Center North and the transportation projects. Capital equipment detail by year. You can see that there's capital equipment being added in nearly every department. Most of those, as you can imagine, are vehicles. Here is a breakdown of the capital equipment proposed in fiscal year 23. I just shared that during the operating presentation, so I'll jump ahead to year two. You can see police, 3 replacement vehicles, 4 new position vehicles, in-car and portable radios. You can see some other expenditures in here for park maintenance equipment, an engine 1 replacement and for Fire Station 1, being one of our larger expenditures, as well as self-contained breathing apparatus replacement. There's a pack rat mechanism in sanitation, and the sanitation truck that was initially shown in fiscal year 2024 is now in 2023, so you will see the sanitation crew being hired in fiscal year 2024. New capital equipment in fiscal 2025, some of the larger expenditures, a replacement garbage packer in our Public Works Department in fiscal 2025, and a leaf vac replacement for streets. You also see a street sweeper replacement funded by the Powell bill. You'll see a number of new replacement vehicles in the police department, some more SCBA replacements in the fire department, and our IT department upgrading some servers. In fiscal year 2026, again, police new replacement vehicles as well as in other departments. You will see garbage packer, a new one being proposed in fiscal year 2026, and engine 4 replacement in our fire department. These fire engines that are over $800,000 a piece, we typically finance those over 5 years, so you'll see the loan coming online. Fiscal year 2027, you see, again, new vehicles and replacement vehicles, a garbage packer replacement, knuckle boom and debris is proposed, as well as paver replacement equipment. Engine 3 is also being proposed for replacement within our fire department. And in our IT department, we'll be adding additional server nodes. So that's a quick summary of capital equipment. All of this, again, will be posted for public review on the website. Capital project detailed by year. I'll leave it up for a moment. You will see we're very capital project heavy in year one with the bond referenda that passed, and you also see us chipping away at some transportation projects over the course of the 5-year plan. Parks and Recreation, I'll get into those, includes projects from our master plan coming from the appropriate recreation reserve that those fee and lieu came from. The Powell bill includes, this is fiscal 2023, so I'll skip ahead since you already saw that. Fiscal year 2024 includes funding for resurfacing, sidewalk repairs, and pedestrian projects, as we've done in the past. And Powell bill, you'll see some miscellaneous expenditures. There's funding included for possible circulator implementation if it's the will of the board. There's funding included for the Southeast Judd Parkway sidewalk, town share of the grant we were able to receive, and some continued town hall window replacement, community center HVAC replacement, and a playground replacement at Honeycutt Park. You'll see in fiscal year 2025, some storm system maintenance, some continued Powell bill investment in our street and sidewalk network, some additional art center investment, and $1 million of additional investment at Hilltop Meadmore Town Park and Preserve. That will be informed by the master plan, which we're currently going through. And the streets, these are just potential placeholder projects for our transportation bonds may not happen in this order, but we're showing the use of those bonds on projects, which is the goal of the board. Fiscal year 2026, we have resurfacing projects, continued power bill investment. You'll see the Public Service Center Open Bay Edition, or Phase 2 of Public Service Center expansion. That's the biggest project in fiscal year 2026. We also have some other transportation improvement projects, as well as design of a new greenway, and Falcon Park, a baseball field light replacement. Those to be funded, those last two to be funded by recreation fees. And we also have in fiscal year 2027, we've got the Powell bill, streets, Fire Station 5 land purchase and design, Action Park ball field light replacement funded by recreation fees, some continued investment in public buildings with HVAC replacement and the like, and streets. Personnel detailed by year. I will show here that you'll see, to your point, Mayor, continued investment, significant investment in trying to improve our ratios in the police department, addressing some of the workload needs in public works with the addition of sanitation crews and other staff in public works, and some other staff that I'll highlight. Fiscal year 23, you saw in the operating budget. Fiscal year 24, you'll see a number of staff, including namely the staff for the new Community Center North. That's 3 positions: a Community Center Senior Administrator, Senior Programming Specialist, and Recreation Programming Specialist. So these will be folks to operate recreation programs and active adult programs. A position specifically focused on that, and our potential staffing to assist with growth and special events. We have 4 police officers, 3 telecommunicators, the second half of the salaries for Fire Station 4, and administrative assistant within the fire department, construction inspectors, staff engineers, building inspectors, and the sanitation crew for another garbage route. Fiscal year 25, you'll see a support specialist and custodian for the Community Center North. You'll see a secondary evidence custodian, an admin support and records position, and 4 police officers within the police department, additional hiring of building inspectors, engineering, assistant engineering director, infrastructure plan reviewer, and a project manager within the economic development department. One note on building inspectors, that function is supported by fees, and so as long as there continues to be high workload and fees, there are fees to support the addition of these personnel, and if there's not, then there's not the need to add the personnel, so it pays for itself. Fiscal year 2026, finance, you will see some additional customer service assistants. You'll see a recreation specialist and parks maintenance worker as our programs continue to grow on the parks and recreation side. 4 police officers, a deputy fire marshal, a building inspector, a new debris collections crew of an operator and 2 workers, a new sanitation crew of a equipment operator and 2 sanitation workers. And in fiscal year 2027, you can have you see a Parks and Grounds superintendent, a parks maintenance worker, 4 police officers, and the fire station staffing for that station, depending on timing for its construction for Fire Station 5, I should say. There's a residential plan reviewer also included in the inspections department. Transfers, one thing that you will see in the budget ordinance, and this chart gives a picture of, is that in the proposed budget, you have we talk about the general fund, but the general fund also has the capital project fund in which general fund dollars go to it. You've got the recreation reserve and you've got debt service. And so in some cases, we are transferring sanitation reserve funds into the general fund to buy sanitation trucks. In some cases, we're transferring recreation reserve funds to the capital project fund to fund those recreation projects. And in the case of capital projects, you will see that we're actually appropriating those directly in the capital project fund. They all come from similar revenue streams, but that will be why you see a difference in your just over $50 million general fund budget as opposed to the total of all funds here that I've shown before you in the current fiscal year. Impact on the general fund balance, you can see we have a very healthy balance of $21.5 million. Adding to that, in the first fiscal year, you see some use of fund balance for planned capital projects if revenue growth, one-time expenses if revenue growth does not materialize. And worst case scenario there, you can see we would stand at $17.9 million, still well over our fund balance policy. In all likelihood, in any given fiscal year, there are departments that manage their expenses well. They turn money back into the general fund. We tend to budget conservatively on the revenue side, and so several years in a row, we've budgeted use of fund balance and not actually had to use it. Impact to PAL bill fund balance. You can see here spending down of PAL bill. There was a calculation of the net PAL bill costs on the April 12th work session that painted a much more pessimistic picture of the PAL bill reserve. This shows us chipping away at the PAL bill, but you can see we'll still have a healthy PAL bill fund balance. We're currently going through a street condition assessment. That's going to help us plan for what's the best way to use our PAL bill funds to keep our street and sidewalk network in the best condition possible over time. You can see the impact to the recreation fee fund balance. There are currently 4 reserves, northeast, northwest, south, and undesignated that was prior to the creation of separate districts. And you can see projects are planned to come out of, or in some cases the debt service are planned to come out of the recreation reserve that the project is planned for, because that's actually where those recreation fees were collected. And you can see this over time. We're showing a little bit of capacity in Northwest, continue to experience strong trends in recreation fees, and implement the ratio adjustment that's included in the land development ordinance for fee in lieu, and that should improve our fiscal picture over time, but we certainly aren't sitting here with millions of dollars to do projects. Impact to debt service reserve fund balance. You can see we're accumulating additional funding each year of vehicle fees, and that's going to give us some funds to apply towards a transportation project. And this gives a fund balance summary note. I've already discussed each of them, and we'll be happy to address any questions. If not, be happy to address them at some later point between now and June 6th.
And Mark, this is going to, this presentation tonight and the action by the board is scheduled a public hearing for more input from the public and to look to adopt the budget at the next meeting for our July 1 start date on there. And so I know that the board here is giving y'all a lot of input for this, and looks at from between our retreat and our budget workshop, and you brought back a lot of things that the board has discussed in here and a lot of projects that are coming forward, and Fuquay-Varina is fortunate to be a growing community like other areas of Wake County, and there's plenty of other areas of our state that would love to be in our financial position and have the opportunity and resources to do these good projects in our town. So thank you for working hard on bringing those back, and I believe this it shows the hard work, and I believe it fulfills what our citizens are looking for here in Fuquay-Varina. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Any board members? Okay. We'll entertain a motion then to schedule a public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we schedule a public hearing on the Town of Fuquay-Varina Fiscal Year 23 budget for June 6th, 2022.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Mark, thank you for your hard work. Thank you, Budget Analyst Lum, also for your work too with this, and appreciate your help tonight.
Thank you,
Appreciate what
Mayor,
done tonight.
and these will be posted for public review on the town website tomorrow.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the public comment period. At this time, the town clerk will first call on individuals that are in attendance and have registered to address the town board prior to the meeting. Following those who are in attendance, the IT director will call on individuals that have virtually raised their hand via the Zoom app or a telephone. The public comment period is a time for the public to address the town board about any matter that is not the subject of a scheduled public hearing. Those speaking are asked to begin by clearly stating your name and address for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. Rose, do you have anybody signed up?
No one signed up from the audience.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Scott, do you have anybody signed up?
No, sir, no hands are raised.
Okay. Public comment period is now closed. We're going to move on to our first item on our agenda that are items tabled from previous meetings. Town Code Amendment, Town of Fuquay-Varina Land Development Ordinance Amendment Number 16, CTA 2021-05. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Planning Director Davison. Pam?
Thank you. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official records of the town. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a proposed text amendment to the Town Code of Ordinances, Part 9, Land Development Ordinance, Amendment 16, that addresses several areas for improvement. Town staff and the community have gained significant experience using the Land Development Ordinance since its adoption in December 2016, and a better understanding of its intent and proper function. As a result, this amendment seeks to harness that experience in the form of clarifications and technical corrections to the LDO's language. The proposed changes are as follows. Section 1, Article F. Article F has undergone a complete rewrite and is attached herein as Attachment A. Changes included are a consolidation of the permitted use table with the form-based permitted use table, which was previously part of Appendix B. A comprehensive restructuring of the permitted use table, factoring in modernized land development uses. The development standards which accompany the permitted use tables have been amended to provide clarity, correct clerical errors, and update the use regulations to respond to modernized development land uses. Section 2, Article G. Clerical errors have been edited in Section 9-1305 that indicate the date for which the standards apply. Language has been removed from Section 9-1309 and compiled in Section 9-1255. Previously, there were additional development standards for accessory structures listed here that were more appropriately located in the accessory structure section of Article F, Section 9-1255. Section 3, Article H. The allowance for parapets to be included as an architectural treatment for commercial buildings has been removed. Section 4, Article K. Language has been added to Section 9-1502 that nonconforming places of worship existing at the time of this amendment will be permitted to expand upon approval of a special use permit and site plan. Section 5, Article M. Language has been added to Section 9-1606 that requires developers to provide as a covenant of a subdivision and enforceable by the homeowners association provisions that easements can be granted to the town on common areas owned by the homeowners association without the action of bringing lot owners together, joinder. Language has been removed from Section 9-1606 that required cross-access between industrial uses. Cross-access is not typically encouraged between industrial and non-industrial site uses. A grammatical error has been edited in Section 9-1611, where the term low-density residential, LDR, was used instead of residential low-density, RLD. Section 6, Article N. Language has been added in this section that indicates that all privately owned, LDO required, off-street parking lot lighting is required to be maintained and operational. The option for gravel to be used as a residential parking material has been removed to be consistent with the standards of other sections of the LDO. Section 7, Article O. Language in Section 9-1710 indicating that buffers are only required between non-residential uses has been removed. It has been the practice of staff to require buffers anywhere the LDO otherwise requires. This language is contradictory to other sections of the LDO. Language has been removed from Section 9-1713 that placed an unreasonable standard on landscape plantings in the Type C buffers. The language now achieves the same result without user confusion. Section 8, Article P. Language has been removed from Sections 9-1752 and 9-1753 that instituted staggered terms for both the Planning Board and Board of Adjustment. The terms are overly complicated and do not achieve the intended result. All Planning Board and Board of Adjustment members will serve 3-year terms without exception. Staggering of terms has happened organically, so that required staggering is no longer necessary. Section 9, Article Q. The requirement for system development fees, water and sewer, has been removed from this section as it is no longer applicable per state statutes. In 2021, the town stopped collecting system development fees at the time of final plat and now collects fees at the time of building permit application, in compliance with the North Carolina general statutes. 2 references to Article F in Section 9-1808 have been updated to conform with the changes made in Article F. A grammatical error has been fixed in Section 9-1808, where the word site was spelled sire. The requirement for a pre-submittal meeting has been added to this section on street closures. Previously, this was not a requirement, but staff feels pre-submittal meetings for this process will be valuable in ensuring accuracy and efficiency of submittals. Additionally, it has been clarified that the submission of a street closure application should be made to the planning department rather than the town clerk. While the town clerk is ultimately responsible for facilitating the approval, the planning department collects and processes the request and forwards it to the town clerk. Section 10, Article S. Article S has undergone a rewrite to align with the changes made in Article F, as well as clarify, condense, and modernize some definitions. It is herein included as Attachment B. Section 11, Appendix A. An error has been corrected in Section 9-2003 that indicated the section was referring to the Downtown Center 1 district when it was referring to Downtown Center 2 instead. Section 12, Appendix B. Several edits have been made to Appendix B to align it with changes made to the permitted use table. Previously, Appendix B had a separate permitted use table that addressed permitted uses in the form-based districts of residential mixed use, neighborhood mixed use, and urban mixed use. In practice, this was confusing and not user-friendly. Condensing the 2 permitted use tables gives the user a single place of reference when researching the permitted uses. This section's amendments include 2 tables which are included herein as attachments C and D. Section 13, Appendix D. A grammatical error has been corrected in Section 9-5000. Additional information. At the December 20th, 2021 regular meeting, the Planning Board unanimously voted to recommend approval. During the January 3rd, 2022 Town Board meeting, the Town Board unanimously voted to table consideration of this text amendment to the February 7th, 2022 regular meeting. Before the February 7th, 2022 Town Board meeting, management and staff requested the item be tabled 60 days to the April 4th, 2022 Town Board meeting to work through an area of concern presented by the Town Board. Prior to the April 4th, 2022 Town Board meeting, management and staff requested to table consideration once more to the May 2nd, 2022 Town Board meeting to align the text amendments revisions with the update of the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan. Since the Planning Board's recommendation, the permitted use table has been updated to reinstate place of worship and temporary place of worship back into the residential and commercial zoning districts as it is currently permitted. Management and staff recommend approval of the proposed town code amendment. It is reasonable and in the public's best interest as it improves upon the land development ordinance's intent to modernize, provide sustainability, and allow for ease of use and enforcement specifically concerning the town's current development standards. The motion would be to approve CTA 2021-05, Amendment 16, an amendment to the Town Code of Ordinances, Part 9, Land Development Ordinance, as it is reasonable and in the best interest of the public for the reasons identified by management and staff. I know that was a bunch, but I am available to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Director Davison. No questions at this time quite yet. The hearing is now open. Does anyone attending in person wish to speak in favor of the Town Code Amendment? Does anyone attending in person wish to speak in opposition to the Town Code Amendment? Scott, does anyone attending virtually wish to speak in favor of the Town Code Amendment?
There are no hands raised.
Does anyone attending virtually wish to speak in opposition to the Town Code Amendment?
No hands are raised.
Hearing's now closed. Any discussion, further discussion by the board, or what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make one comment. Toward the end of Director Davidson's presentation, she did work through the parts where it had been continued several times and put on hold. And then she explained the reasons why. I just want to say thank you to our staff and our town management. I know this whole amendment was a ton of work, and yet they allowed it to be worked on a little bit more and a little bit more to address some concerns that came from the public and was raised by some of the board. And as it worked out, we came up with a plan, I think, that's acceptable to everyone on the board, acceptable to the town management, acceptable to planning, and acceptable to the citizens who raised some concerns with it. And I just think that just demonstrated our town's ability and willingness to work with our citizens to reach, areas of agreement to help better our town. And I do appreciate our staff's hard work on this. I just wanted to say that and to kind of add to what she said there about some of the continuances and kind of give a little clarity on that.
I think that's a very good point, Larry. We did also myself spend a lot of time meeting with members of our community about some of these items right here in it. And so feedback from the community was taken into consideration and worked with it. And Director Davis and your department and management did a good job together listening to the community on some comments in regards to that. So hence the no comments tonight during the public hearing.
Yeah.
So any further comments, or we entertain a motion?
I was about to jump in there. It also, I really appreciate taking the time with these, the different amendments here so that we are sure going forward that they will be in line with our new land use plan.
Yep.
We'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, hearing no other motions, I'll make a motion to approve CTA 2021-05, Amendment Number 16, Amendment to the Town Court of Ordinances, Part 9, Land Development Ordinance, as it is reasonable and in the best interest of the public for the reasons identified by management and staff.
I second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we will be having at a future meeting the land development ordinances and land use plan updates that go together at a future meeting for the overall.
That is correct.
What you've been doing. I believe that's expected to be at the first meeting in June, or is it no, it's the second meeting this month, isn't it?
It would be the first meeting in June before
First
the
meeting in
town
June.
board, correct.
Okay. Coming up in the near future then. Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is item 6B. Zoning map amendment and land use plan amendment, Gray Methvin, Wakefield Development, 8537 Lake Wheeler Road, REZ 2021-10. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Planning Director Davison.
Thank you. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official records of the town. Purpose of this agenda item is to consider a requested zoning map amendment for a total of 35.49 acres located at a portion of Lake Wheeler Road from the Residential Agricultural Zoning District to the Planned Unit Development Zoning District, and the corresponding land use plan amendment from mixed-use neighborhood to mixed-density residential. The subject property totals 36.52 acres, of which 35.49 acres are part of this rezoning petition. The subject property is located in the town's extraterritorial jurisdiction. The property is the subject of Annexation ANX 2021-08. The subject property is generally forested with a single-family residence located on the western side of the property. The subject property is zoned residential agricultural. The petitioner is requesting approval to rezone the property to a planned unit development zoning district. Planned unit developments are intended to permit variations and flexibility to create a unified development plan that would otherwise not be possible under the Land Development Ordinance. A planned unit development is intended to address urban design, meet the demand for all types of housing, integrate residential and commercial uses, encourage conservation and more efficient use of open space, protect environmentally sensitive areas, enhance recreation and activities for healthy living, promote a pedestrian-friendly environment with well-designed and coordinated streets for pedestrian walkability. The petitioner's proposal requesting approval to rezone the property as a planned unit development does integrate non-residential uses into the development. The petitioner has requested the following site-specific conditions to be made applicable to the subject property. 1, vinyl siding is not permitted. 2, fiber cement siding will be used on all exterior elevations. Vinyl windows, shutters, soffits, decorative elements, and trim are permitted. 3, front-facing garage doors shall have windows, decorative details, or carriage-style adornments. 4, a varied color palette shall be utilized on all homes throughout the subdivision and shall include siding, trim, shutter, and accent colors complementing the siding colors. 5, all homes shall include architectural shingles in a color that complements the development's approved color palette. 6, attached townhouses will consist of a mix of 4, 5, or 6 unit buildings. More than 50% of the buildings will have more than 5 units per building. 7, attached townhouse end units shall include a minimum roof overhang of 12 inches. 8, all homes shall have a front door with a minimum 25% glazing, transom, and/or door side lights. 9, any side or rear facing facade visible from a public right-of-way, either existing or proposed, shall have a covered or enclosed porch and/or decorative trim or shutters around the windows. 10, roofs shall be pitched at a 5 to 12 or greater, not including porches and bay windows. 11, townhouse roof lines cannot be a single mass. It must be broken up horizontally and vertically between every 2 units by staggering the unit a minimum of 24 inches or providing a minimum 8-inch vertical step between every 2 units. 12, a masonry material shall be provided along the front facade of all homes, equivalent in height to 2 standard steps or a minimum of 14 inches. 13, front entrances for all homes must have a covered porch or stoop area at the front door. 14, no home can be constructed with either an exterior elevation, front facade, or color palette that is identical to any other home in the same row for townhomes, the next home on either side for single family, or directly across the street for all attached and detached homes. 15, a minimum of 3 of the following exterior materials and elements shall be used on each house: decorative shake, decorative porch rails and posts, shutters, 1 inch by 4 inch window wrap, decorative windows, pediments, recessed windows, side and/or front window box bays, decorative brick or stone, decorative gables, decorative dormers, decorative cornices, metal roofing. The proposed residential materials will be of a similar palette to provide consistency of character along with visual interest. Exterior materials that may be incorporated into any of the residential structures include fiber cement lap siding, board and batten siding, shake and shingle siding, wood siding, stone or synthetic stone, and brick. And number 17, a minimum of 2 of the following exterior materials will be applied to the front facade: brick, masonry, board and batten, horizontal or shake siding. Alternatively, the front facade of a building may be comprised of all masonry. A master plan is characterized by an integrated mixture of civic spaces, single-family detached homes, alley-loaded detached and attached homes, and commercial non-residential uses. It provides for an overall integrated design that considers the placement of residential types, connectivity, character, transportation options, and preservation of natural features. To comply with the zoning map amendment petition requirements, the associated master plan, the document, and related maps shall identify permitted uses, arrangement of uses, open space, thoroughfare network, utilities, pedestrian network, and architectural design and standards. The master plan shall also adhere to all other standards provided by Article Q and Appendix D of the Land Development Ordinance. The petitioner's master plan proposes a maximum density of 3.38 dwelling units per acre with a maximum of 120 units, excluding the lot designated for the pump station and the commercial development. The proposed density is less than the maximum allowable density of 6 dwelling units per acre. There is a proposed minimum of 55 attached townhome units that will have a minimum lot width of 20 feet, 20 detached townhome units that will have a minimum lot width of 30 feet, and 32 single-family detached lots consisting of 10 8,000 square foot lots, 5 10,000 square foot lots, and at least 2 12,000 square foot lots that are to be located adjacent to the Ridgebrook Bluffs community. The location of the single-family detached is intended to provide a transitional area from the existing single-family neighborhoods to the north and east of the site to the higher-density townhomes. Given the current land use plan designation for the subject property, mixed-use neighborhood, the petitioner has proposed a minimum 1-acre lot along the Lake Wheeler Road frontage for a small-scale neighborhood commercial, non-residential use that is shown integrated into the petitioner's master plan proposal for a PUD. Civic space is a green space dedicated for community use and can take many forms for both active and passive recreation. The master plan proposes a number of civic spaces, including natural play areas, shaded pedestrian seating, a fire pit, grilling area, a dog park, pet waste stations, and general open space areas. The proposed master plan provides for dedication of 20%, or 6.22 acres, of the project area to open space with an additional 1.89 acres of active recreation area. All homes will be within 500 feet of an active recreation area. Surrounding properties are generally residential in nature with some forested areas. The Ridgebrook Bluffs subdivision is to the north and east of the subject property, while the Village of Lake Wheeler subdivision, located to the northwest of the site, is currently under construction. Additionally, to the southwest and south of the property is the construction of the I-540 Southern Expressway. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan designates the subject property as mixed-use neighborhood. Since the requested zoning is incompatible with the designation of mixed-use neighborhood, the petitioner has included a land use plan amendment as part of this zoning map petition. Public water is available to serve the subject property. Sewer will be extended as part of the development. The subject property is located along and has access to Lake Wheeler Road, which is classified as a 110-foot right-of-way by the 2035 Community Transportation Plan. The Community Transportation Plan identifies this street as a 4-lane median divided roadway with side paths with a future carrying capacity of 36,000 average daily trips. Currently, the street is a 2-lane roadway with a carrying capacity of 18,300 average daily trips. The 2019 NCDOT traffic counts taken on Lake Wheeler Road, approximately a quarter-mile south of the subject property, indicate an average daily trip count of 8,200. The future I-540 Southern Expressway, currently under construction, runs diagonally across the southwestern border of the subject property. The petitioner held 2 neighborhood meetings on October 26, 2021 and December 1, 2021. The meeting reports are attached, and staff takes no position as to their content. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan calls for the subject property's mixed-use neighborhood classification. Mixed-use neighborhoods include housing types and residential densities integrated with commercial, non-residential goods and services in a walkable center that residents visit daily. The petitioner has proposed a land use plan amendment from mixed-use neighborhood to mixed-density residential, as the petitioner believes rezoning to MDR to be more compatible with the surrounding properties. Management and staff recommend approval of the proposed zoning map amendment and associated land use plan amendment. It is consistent with the town's vision for a mixed-use development site and is reasonable in the best interest of the public. Additional information. This item was tabled at the December 20th, 2021 Planning Board meeting at the request of the petitioner. Following this meeting, town staff did not receive updated project-related information, and the petitioner requested the petition to be presented at the January 11th, 2022 Planning Board meeting with the town staff's recommendation for denial. At the January 11th, 2022 Planning Board meeting, the Planning Board voted to table consideration of the item to the February 21st, 2022 meeting at the petitioner's request. At the February 21, 2022 Planning Board meeting, the Planning Board voted 4-2 to recommend approval of the petition. Prior to the March 7th, 2022 Town Board meeting, the petitioner requested to have consideration tabled to the April 4th, 2022 Town Board meeting in order to allow more time for the consultant and town staff to release the update of the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan. Prior to the April 4th, 2022 Town Board meeting, the petitioner requested to have consideration tabled to the May 2nd, 2022 Town Board meeting in order to allow more time for town staff to review the impact of the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan. Since April 4th, 2022, the petitioner has submitted a revised master plan adding a non-residential parcel along the Lake Wheeler Road frontage. Management staff believe that the integration of a non-residential parcel into the development meets the intent of the mixed-use development site and responds to the goals proposed in the 2040 Land Use Plan update. The recommended motion is to approve REZ 2021-10, a rezoning map amendment at 8537 Lake Wheeler Road from the Residential Agricultural Zoning District to the Plan Unit Development Zoning District, and the corresponding land use plan amendment from mixed-use neighborhood to mixed-density residential. I am available for any questions.
Good job.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Director Davison. The hearing is now open. Does anyone attending in person wish to speak in favor of the zoning map amendment and land use plan amendment?
Good evening. My name is Matthew Danielson, 3100 Smoke Tree Court, Raleigh. I'm with Wakefield Development, the applicant. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, we've been working with staff closely for several months, and we are fortunate that when we work together, we can come up with a community that works really well for the area. I think staff did an excellent presentation showing what we'd like to do with this community. I've got a lengthy presentation I'd love to give, but I'm not. Instead, I've got my engineer, legal counsel. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. Excuse me. We're fortunate to have staff approval or recommendation, planning board recommendation. And this evening, we ask for your approval, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else attending in person wish to speak in favor? John, you got to at least say hello. I know you're itching. There you go. Does anyone attending in person wish to speak in opposition to the zoning map amendment and land use plan amendment? Scott, does anyone attending virtually wish to speak in favor of the zoning map amendment and land use plan amendment?
No, sir, no hands are raised.
Does anyone attending virtually wish to speak in opposition to the zoning map amendment and land use plan amendment?
No hands are raised.
Hearing is now closed. Appreciate your work on this project and adding some of the things that that staff and the board wanted to see in the project right here. And I think that you have a good project that's worked out now. And I know it took some extra time, and appreciate everybody's patience on both sides, on your side, the private side, and on town staff side, the patience and working together. So thank y'all for working together and working. I thank y'all for working with our staff, and I thank our staff for working with y'all at the same time. Any further discussion by the board, or what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve REZ 2021-10, zoning map amendment at 8537 Lake Wheeler Road from the Residential Agricultural Zoning District to the Planned Unit Development Zoning District and to the corresponding land use plan amendment from mixed use neighborhood to mixed density residential.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is public hearings. Public hearings are a time for the petitioner to, this thought sheet really ought to be before the continue items table continue, but a little bit different. Okay, we got that. If you wish to speak and are physically in attendance, please step forward to the podium one at a time. Provide your name and address on the registration log at the podium and clearly state your name and address for the public record. Following those speaking who are physically in attendance, the IT director will call on individuals that have virtually raised their hand via the Zoom app or by telephone. Those wishing to address the town board will be unmuted one at a time. Those speaking are asked to begin by stating your name and address for the public record. We ask that all those addressing the town board please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. First public hearing tonight, zoning map amendment, Jim Bartlett, 453 Longfellow Street, REZ 2022-02. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Plan Director Davison.
Thank you. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the town records. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a requested zoning map amendment for a total of 0.17 acres located at 453 Longfellow Street from the residential medium-density zoning district to town center residential zoning district. The subject property consists of 2 lots, lots 177 and 178 from the original Lincoln Heights subdivision, Book of Maps 1945-79, and totals 0.17 acres. It's located in the town's corporate limits and is currently vacant and wooded. Since these lots are adjacent and under the same ownership, Wake County Tax Department has mapped these lots as 1 lot per policy. These lots were recently readdressed from 413 Longfellow Street to 453 Longfellow Street, effective March 23, 2022. The zoning map amendment petition requests approval of the town center residential zoning district. A residential density of 10 units per acre is permitted with the TCR zoning district, which is intended to provide for residential development of varying types to support the downtown center districts, and it's applicable only within the Judd Parkway Loop. The TCR zoning district requires submittal of a master plan. However, proposed developments totaling 4 lots or fewer are permitted to submit a plot plan in lieu of the required master plan. This zoning map amendment requests 2 lots, and as such, a plot plan has been submitted. The petitioner has requested the following site-specific conditions be made applicable to the subject property. 1, fiber cement siding will be used. Vinyl may only be used on windows, decorative elements, and trim. 2, 1 ornamental tree will be planted in the front yard, crepe myrtle or similar. And 3, front doors will include partial glass and transom. Surrounding property is primarily residential of a variety of densities, making up the neighborhoods that begin the transition into downtown. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan calls for the town center residential classification at the subject property. The Land Use Plan's recommendation, LU4, encourage infill development and redevelopment inside town limits, incentivizes infill development and redevelopment projects inside town limits as a way to reinvest in the existing downtowns and neighborhoods. Furthermore, the Land Use Plan's recommendation H2, grow in downtowns, incentivizes creating and maintaining affordable housing in the downtown areas. The requested zoning district is consistent with the 2035 Land Use Plan classification. Public water and sewer utilities are available to serve the subject property. The subject property is located on and has access to Longfellow Street. Longfellow Street is classified as a local street in the town's community transportation plan. Longfellow Street is a town-maintained road, and therefore NCDOT traffic counts are not available. A neighborhood meeting was held by the petitioner on February 21st, 2022 via the Zoom web application. The meeting report is attached. Staff takes no position as to its content. Management and staff recommend approval of the proposed zoning map amendment as it is reasonable and in the best interest of the public for the following reasons. 1, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan for the designation of town center residential. 2, the requested zoning district supports infill development and reinvestment in downtown neighborhoods per the 2035 Land Use Plan's recommendation LU4, encourage infill development and redevelopment inside town limits. 3, the requested zoning district supports the goals of creating variety of housing inventory approaching the existing downtown neighborhoods per the 2035 Land Use Plan's recommendation H2, Grow in Downtowns. 4, the requested zoning district is complementary to residential uses in the general vicinity. And 5, the requested zoning district is consistent with the proposed updated 2040 Land Use Plan that is currently under review by staff and management. Additional information, at the April 18th, 2022 regular meeting, the Planning Board unanimously voted to recommend approval. The recommended motion is to approve REZ 2022-02, a zoning map amendment at 453 Longfellow Street from the Residential Medium Density Zoning District to the Town Center Residential Zoning District. The proposed amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan and reasonable in the best interest of the public for the reasons identified by staff. I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Director Davison. Wonderful presentation. The hearing is now open. Does anyone attending in person wish to speak in favor of the zoning map amendment? Does anyone attending in person wish to speak in opposition to the zoning map amendment? Does anyone attending virtually, Scott, wish to speak in favor of zoning map amendment?
No hands are raised.
Scott, does anyone attending virtually wish to speak in opposition to the zoning map amendment?
No hands are raised.
Hearing is now closed. Any discussion by the board? What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve REZ 2022-02 as presented and recommended.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next public hearing on our agenda is the zoning map amendment, item 7B, the Curry Engineering Group, PLLC, 1601 North Main Street, REZ 2022-03. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Planning Director Davison.
It's my last one. I'm submitting the
think a
agenda
couple more for
abstract and supporting documents in the official records of the town. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a requested zoning map amendment for a total of 1.44 acres located at 1601 North Main Street from the Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District to the Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District. The property totals 1.44 acres and is currently in the town's corporate limits. The property is vacant and generally cleared with some trees and brush. The property is currently zoned Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District. The zoning map amendment petition requests the approval of the Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District. This zoning district is intended to accommodate medium-scale intensity non-residential development of a mix of convenience services, retail, office, and limited institutional uses. This property was rezoned as part of REZ 2021-05. This rezoning petition is to update the site-specific conditions to allow for additional allowable uses and provide additional protection to the adjacent residential use through the restriction of roll-up service doors to all facades facing the residential property. The previously approved zoning conditions listed automotive express service as the only permitted use, provided a 30-foot Type A evergreen buffer adjacent to 1403 Wilbur Jones Road, and prohibited roll-up service doors on only the western facade of the proposed building. The petitioner is requesting only the following uses be permitted at the subject property: tire sales and service, vehicle parts and accessories retail, automotive express service, and automotive repair. The petitioner is requesting the following site-specific conditions to the subject property: provide a minimum 30-foot Type A perimeter buffer adjacent to 1403 Wilbur Jones Road, comprised entirely of evergreen plant materials. This buffer will revert to standard buffer width and planting standards in the event that 1403 Wilbur Jones Road ceases to be a residential use. The second one is roll-up service doors for the garage will be prohibited on the building facades facing 1403 Wilbur Jones Road. Surrounding properties are generally a mix of commercial and residential uses with some forested area. The Brennan Way subdivision lies to the north across the Norfolk Southern Railroad, and a single-family home is immediately adjacent to the northwestern property line. To the east, southwest, and west of the property are commercial uses ranging from automotive-related businesses, restaurants, and personal care uses. Directly east of the property is the recently completed UNC Healthcare flagship medical building. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan calls for the small-scale commercial center classification at the subject property. This classification is defined as land supporting small-scale commercial centers that provide goods and services to surrounding neighborhoods. Their proximity to neighborhoods requires that operations be low intensity, unobtrusive, and at a scale and design compatible with nearby residential development. The requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan. The town is currently updating its 2035 Land Use Plan, and the proposed updated 2040 Land Use Plan update recommends designating the property as suburban commercial, which aligns with the current 2035 Land Use Plan designation of small-scale commercial center. Public water and sewer are available to serve the subject property. The subject property is located at the corner of North Main Street, US Highway 401, and Wilbur Jones Road. North Main Street is classified by the town's 2035 Community Transportation Plan as a 120-foot right-of-way and identified as a 4-lane median-divided cross-section with side paths and a future carrying capacity of 36,600 average daily trips. It is currently a 4-lane road with a center turn lane with a carrying capacity of 27,600 average daily trips. 2019 NCDOT traffic counts taken approximately 200 feet to the east of the property on North Main Street indicated a volume of 32,500 average daily trips. Wilbur Jones Road is classified by the town's 2035 Community Transportation Plan as a 70-foot right-of-way and is identified as a 2-lane cross-section with sidewalks and a future carrying capacity of 9,500 average daily trips. It is currently a 2-lane road with carrying capacity of 9,200 average daily trips. The petitioner held a neighborhood meeting on March 15, 2022 at Curry Engineering, 205 South Fuquay Avenue, Fuquay-Varina. The meeting report is attached and staff takes no position as to its content. Management and staff recommend approval of the proposed zoning map amendment as it is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan and is reasonable in the best interest of the public for the following reasons. 1, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan's recommendation CF1, invest in existing growth areas, which encourages the extension of utilities and growth of development in areas that are already in the growth process to maximize effectiveness. 2, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the proposed updated 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan's recommendation to designate the property as suburban commercial, as this land use designation aligns with the 2035 Land Use Plan small-scale commercial center classification. And 3, conditions proposed by the petitioner effectively limit future development to be compatible with the surrounding areas. Additional information. At the April 18, 2022 regular meeting, the Planning Board unanimously voted to recommend approval. The recommended motion is to approve REZ 2022-03, a zoning map amendment at 1601 North Main Street from the Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District to the Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District. The proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan and is reasonable in the best interest of the public for the reasons identified by management and staff. I'm available if there's any questions.
Thank you, Director Davison. The hearing is now open. Does anyone attending in person wish to speak in favor of the zoning map amendment? Mr. Curry, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. My name is Don Curry with Curry Engineering, 205 South Fuquay Avenue here in Fuquay-Varina. And I appreciate staff's report. It was very thorough, and I'm here in favor of the rezoning. Appreciate your consideration of the request, and I'm glad to help answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Don, very much. Does anyone else attending in person wish to speak in favor of the zoning map amendment? Does anyone attending in person wish to speak in opposition to the zoning map amendment? Scott, does anyone attending virtually wish to speak in favor of the zoning map amendment?
There are no hands raised.
Scott, does anyone attending virtually wish to speak in opposition to the zoning map amendment?
There are no hands raised.
The hearing is now closed. Any discussion by the board, or what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve REZ 2022-03 as presented and recommended.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda will be the consent agenda. What is the board's pleasure on the items on the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve items 8A, 8B, 8C, 8D, and 8E of the consent agenda as presented and recommended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda will be the first administrative report. Project Ordinance and Budget Amendment, Action Park Tennis Court Replacement, $225,000, BA 2022-32. More information will be presented by Parks and Recreation Director Cox. Jonathan, good evening.
Good evening, Board. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a project ordinance amendment and budget amendment to fund the replacement of the Action Park tennis courts. The Action Park tennis court replacement has been identified for several years as part of the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources System-Wide Facility Master Plan and 5-year plan in FY23. And this project was proposed in the manager's preliminary recommended budget at the April 12th, 2022 budget workshop session to be funded by available funds in the Northwest District Recreation Fee in Lieu Reserve. Since the budget work session, staff has completed further analysis of recreation fee in lieu revenues in the Northwest District Reserve, which contains Action Park, and has identified sufficient funding in the reserve to support acceleration of this project. With this funding available, management and staff recommend amending a project and appropriating funding in the current year to begin the procurement process and expedite construction by 2 months. This action will allow courts to be replaced with new courts available sooner, while mitigating challenges with contractor availability that often occurs in the early part of the state and local fiscal year. For these reasons, management and staff recommend approval of a project ordinance amendment and budget amendment to allow construction to begin as soon as a qualified contractor can be procured and mobilized. Fiscal note: on April 12th, 2022, the town manager recommended replacement of the Action Park tennis courts in the preliminary draft recommended FY23 budget. Since the budget work session, sufficient recreation and lieu and fee revenues in the Northwest District have been identified to support accelerating this project by 2 months to begin procurement of a qualified contractor. Funding of $225,000 has been identified in the Northwest Recreation Fee in Lieu Reserve. Since this project is now proposed to be funded in the current fiscal year by project ordinance amendment, funding for the Action Park tennis court replacement is not included in the FY23 manager's recommended budget. The recommendation by motion is to approve a project ordinance amendment and budget amendment for the Action Park tennis court replacement project as presented and recommended. And I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
We discussed this a little bit earlier tonight during the budget time, Jonathan, and appreciate you bringing this back here this evening. Any further discussion by the board?
I live near Action Park and I drive by it multiple times a day, so I see the folks out there utilizing the park, so this will be a great thing to do.
It'd be a great enhancement.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve a project ordinance amendment and budget amendment for the Action Park Tennis Court Replacement Project as presented and recommended.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Motion carries. Thank you. It's been a long day today.
Yeah.
My brain's turn into mush sometimes. Next item on our agenda, other business, manager's report. Y'all have anything for us tonight, gentlemen?
I'll keep manager's report fairly brief. We've got a couple of things to highlight. First, there is a project status report included this evening for review. Please let Town Manager Mitchell know if you have questions, and he'll direct those to either of us to address them. In our Parks and Recreation Department, we're able to recently hire Ulysses Martinez as a park maintenance worker. And we're also just submitted an NC Part-of application last week to request $500,000 in grant funding for Community Center North. So the hope is to continue to leverage grant resources to assist with construction of that project. Public Works, we recently hired sanitation collector Darius Wilson, who will start on May 9th. And our art center finished up a busy April with 2 sold-out concerts, Beatlesque and We Banjo 3. And the Fuquay-Varina Chorale performs this Thursday and Friday at 7:30, and Nonsense will come into the theater on May 19th through 21st, our community theater presentation. A new session of dance classes will begin next week, and the summer class offerings are open for registration. In our planning department, the Historic Preservation Celebration was held at the Art Center yesterday and was well attended, and town has received a lot of positive feedback on our Art Center. And our inspections department issued 183 new single-family permits in April, and so the total from January through April was 837 new single-family permits through 4 months. A couple other events to make the board aware of: Coffee with a Cop tomorrow morning at the Chamber of Commerce, 9 to 10:30 a.m., and then we have our third and final Follow Me to Fuquay-Varina concert of the season, Liquid Pleasure, on May 12th from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. at Centennial Park. That is all that I have this evening, Mayor. There is one closed session item.
Thank you, Assistant Manager Matthews. Appreciate that information. As Assistant Manager Matthews mentioned, Town Manager Mitchell has been missing the past couple meetings, has been sick, but it will be back to help soon and help work together with y'all. So, next item on our agenda is Town Board Member Comments. Commissioner Gardner.
It has been a really, as Assistant Town Manager Matthews was saying, it's been a really busy month, or last 2 weeks since our last meeting, with everything that's been going on in town. It's been a lot of fun. We've been meeting each other, going and coming, and it continues. The fun continues. This Saturday, well, actually Friday and Saturday, will be our annual On Plein Air paint-off that is sponsored by Fuquay-Varina Downtown. It features artists who paint under a time frame, within that time period, certain sites around town that are assigned to them, and then those paintings will be auctioned off at Dinner on Depot on June 11th. But it's a really fun time and we're back to where you can go around to the different sites and watch the artists paint. It's just a lot of fun, and every year some amazing art is produced, and then there's also a lot of fun with the auction. So I encourage you to come out and watch the artists paint, and the tickets to Dinner on Depot for the dinner are sold out, but there are still tickets available for Depot After Dark, which will include the auction, the live auction on June 11th. So if you see something you really like that the artists are painting, remember that you'll have a chance to bid on it, an original piece of art that features a local landmark, and you'd be able to bid on that. Also, on the 7th, our Fuquay-Varina Museum Complex is having our annual, which we've not been able to have for 2 years, but our annual Heritage Day with a day at the museums, and it will be from 10 to 4, and there are 2 programs to be presented during the day, one of which will honor honor the past chairman for the museum board, with a special presentation in honor of the late Max Ashworth, who has been involved with the museum project since it started until his recent death. So that'll be a really fun event. We've got some nice things planned for you, and all of the museum buildings will be open with docents available for your guided tours. So I encourage you to come out. And I forgot to announce at our last board meeting that I have a new granddaughter. And I'm getting ready to be out of town the 8th through the 14th, where I get to go to Columbus, Ohio to be granny nanny to little Mabel Rose Peters. So I will miss you all, but I can't miss that. Thank you.
That is exciting. Congratulations. Wonderful. Commissioner Haynes.
As Commissioner Gardner said, it has definitely been busy. Let's see, we had the Growers Market grand opening, which I see even this past Saturday, it was over 800 people there in attendance.
Congrats.
So it's continuing to grow. More and more businesses are coming. It's exciting to see that we're even expanding to where local authors are having their books for purchase as well. The coffee gentleman is becoming a hot spot on that Saturday. If you haven't had the coffee, I had a cheesecake latte, which was very tasty. Let's see, we had the Friends of the Art Center Spring Fling. I almost forgot about that. That was a great night of music, fellowship. We had a good time, a lot of conversation. Met some brand new Fuquay-Varina citizens. I think they've only been here, maybe they were only here about 3 weeks, I think. That's what they told me. So that was very enlightening, and I had a great time. Let's see. I also had about 2 weeks ago, I attended a program for the Brian Hamilton Foundation, which is a foundation that works with inmates to entrepreneurs. And that was he had his estate out on 64 in Apex. So it was a lot of local leaders and different people there, and a lot of the graduates of the program who have become very profitable entrepreneurs from the program. So met a lot of chief of police from different towns and a lot of other people. So that was a good day. Let's see. I just returned from the City Vision conference, as Mayor said earlier. I sat in the different classes of building climate resilience for our towns in the upcoming years, racial equity and emerging municipality issues, which is very interesting. There was a lot of conversation just to hear all the different towns and what type of issues they are going through at the present moment, as well as affordable housing, which we all know is a problem for pretty much everybody across the state of North Carolina. So those sessions were very, very needed and interesting, and definitely took a lot of different things from it. I was able to go see the Seabird restaurant, which was renovated back to almost the original state with the glass structures, and they took the top floors and turned them into a place for entrepreneurs to learn how to start their new businesses. So that was very interesting as well. And we had a good time with a lot of local mayors and commissioners and town staff as well. I just want to personally thank everybody who came out to Pontiac's Community Center. Fish fry this past Friday. I came straight back from Wilmington and cleaned fish all night, and then fried fish all day Friday. So I was barely making it by 7 o'clock that evening, but we had a good time. So definitely thank the mayor and the commissioners who stopped by, and other people of the community who stopped by and got a fish plate that day. And I don't want to leave this out as well. During the City Vision Conference, even though he's not here, I want to recognize Commissioner Harris. He was elected as now, he was just originally the second vice president. He just moved up to the first vice president of the North Carolina League of Municipalities, and I guess next year he will move into the president of the North Carolina League of Municipalities. So that's a very big honor that I realize now, just talking to different people. And then it was funny that chairman of the board was actually our musical group that Wednesday night, and they were actually in Fuquay the next night. So that was very interesting that we had them out. People were like, y'all have them tomorrow? I was like, yes, we have them tomorrow. So that was very good, and we had a good time. I think that is, and then I also look forward to celebrating our staff all month. Thank you, Mayor, for the proclamation, and definitely we try to do all the best we can to thank all the staff as much as possible during this month, and not just this month, but every month, because they, without them, we couldn't have this great town we live in.
Brian, you weren't kidding. You sure know how to fry some fish too. It was good. My whole team enjoyed it very much. You get to see your mom that morning also. Commissioner Watson.
Just to follow up, I also attended the City Vision Conference with Commissioner Haynes, put on by the North Carolina League of Municipalities. I attended a couple of sessions about affordable housing, community growth. We toured the Seabird building. It was really cool to hear about how they all work together to bring it back. They had old photos of it, and they used those as reference down to what the windows look like. It was pretty interesting. Also sat in about a sewer and stormwater, which was right on topic for what we're getting ready to deal with here, so it was really interesting. And then we were able to receive that award on behalf of the town, which we were surprised that we won. We didn't know about that, so that was special. Attended a 10-year anniversary for a local business this past weekend, and it was really neat to see how many other local businesses came out to help support them. So that was really fun. And I attended the fish fry, got to eat dinner with Mr. Haynes, Commissioner Haynes' mother, and it was very good. It was very good. Took leftovers home and had a second dinner a couple hours later. It was very good, all to benefit Pine Acres. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Watson. Mayor Pro Tem Smith, any comments?
Just a few. As you know, I took off and went out of town on vacation and missed a lot of the events y'all were going to, but trust me, as soon as I got back in town, we started catching up. Obviously made it out to the Chairman of the Board concert, probably the largest group I've seen at one of our Follow Me to Fuquay concerts. It was really nice. And then Sunday got to go to the Capital Area Preservation Ceremony, which was really nice, a good event. A couple interesting things happened. When I was at the Chairman of the Board concert, I ran into a couple that's lived in our area just for a few weeks. They retired from New York City. He worked with the Parks and Recreation Department up there. Had a chance to talk with them, and just to hear a new resident talk about how excited they were to be in Fuquay-Varina. They really like the area. They're in love with it already. And then at the Capital Area Preservation, I ran into an older resident, not old age-wise because I was older than him, but he had lived here as a very young person, had moved away and had just come back and was comparing the differences of the town. And I was bracing to, maybe they didn't like the growth as much, but he was so excited to see a lot of the new venues and new developments, some of the new businesses that's coming to town. And it was just interesting to run into two people who just really aren't from here. One just got back and one just moved here, and how excited they are to be a part of our community and some of the good things that are happening. Encourage me that we just keep on keeping on trying to get the right things done for our town. Looks like it's going to continue to be busy the rest of this week. So a lot of good things going on in Fuquay-Varina, and just trying to keep up and enjoy running into you guys at everything we do because we seem to run into each other. But that's all I got, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple comments before we have a closed session tonight. Fuquay-Varina Police Department hosted the Special Olympics golf tournament fundraiser today and had a very good showing and had a lot of players in that, and probably if they didn't win it, they came very, very close to winning it. But did a great show and raised a lot of money for Special Olympics here today at that. That was a good time. You mentioned our town concert, and both those two concerts we've had were record attendances right there, and the largest that the town has ever had. And so that's good. It shows, I think, our citizens are enjoying want to be back out doing events. Nobody's hiding behind, well, some people may hide at home still, but most people are out about enjoying things right now. And so thank y'all for working hard. Jonathan, your department's done a lot of work with that. Other departments that are involved with you also, I know the fire department's been involved, Public Works, Police Department, Communications, and other departments too at the same time. And so the public is really enjoying those right there, and look forward to more of those coming up in the summertime and in the fall at the same time. Last Friday, also, in addition to Commissioner Haynes cooking very good fried fish, also had 4 of us were able to visit Fuquay-Varina High School for their food class, and the food class had myself went, Chief Medina went, Wendy from HR went, and Leslie from Parks and Rec also went. And so they tested their food out on us, and we got to travel all over the world, 5 different countries, with never leaving Fuquay-Varina. They did a good job, and those kids were very, very motivated and excited. And so the purpose I tell you that is they're looking for jobs in our community in the future and excited about their careers and such like that. And so the kids were very excited about what they could cook and what they could do right there. And it was great. There was no food poisoning or anything bad either that happened. It was wonderful. They did a great job in all seriousness, though, on that. And it was really a good time for that. A few events that are coming up this week. Hopefully, those of y'all that can attend on this board, we have National Day of Prayer on Thursday. That'll be down in front of the police department station right there at 11:45. Look for a good turnout there. And also, I know several of you will be at Leadership Fuquay-Varina panel discussion later this week for the board members. And they also have the graduation this last week also, and several of you were there too at the same time and saw the next class graduating, and 2 of our current commissioners are former graduates of the class 2, and we talked about that afternoon too. Thank you all for the events that you're attending and stay and out and about in our community. Mr. Manager, you want somebody make a motion for a closed session, please?
So moved.
I'll make a motion.
Motion so moved. A motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Y'all have a good evening. We'll go to closed session. Thank you.
And for the record, CGS 143, 318, 11, A3, and A4.
Yeah, amend my motion to conclude that.
Thank you. Yes. What time we got to talk?